Hey, it's Rosiel, and welcome back to the set building. So I did some off-screen renovations. This thing is gonna come out super late because I kept procrastinating. Basically, what I did is I put some bed or blocks underneath the bed, and it makes it so that way you can't walk through the bed like this. So there's a little bit of like a something there. That way you can like lay on top of the bed. Still haven't added the windows though. Oh, and I added in the ceiling for the place. Anyways, I was figuring we could get around to decorating the rooms. I figured since I was already doing some off-camera work anyways, I went ahead and grabbed the bed. We're going to use the gray bed sheets. All of it's going to be from the Handcrafted mod. Just because I like the way their beds are. And I just don't know if I want to use their other materials. I think I might go to Paladin because I don't want to use the nice Decocraft stuff for rooms that aren't super seen, but I want to make sure that they're filled in the case that like there's a crossover into those rooms. So let's find the Paladin furniture mod, because the choice would be between Paladin and what's the name of the other? MrCrayfish. Something like that. So I think the nightstand, we'll stick to doing the wooden ones just because they look a little bit more like they belong in the setting. I think we'll do the cherry one just because the cherry kind of, again, adds in that pink downstairs. There's the cherry grove over that way. I thought that wasn't in there, but I've been playing a lot of modded Minecraft recently. Specifically, I've been playing the Reclamation mod, which only has like 4 nighttime mobs, or 5 nighttime mobs spawn, and it's clearly getting to me. Alright. And then, not Doggy Towns, I need the Crayfish mod. Or did I get rid of the Crayfish mod? I might have gotten rid of the Crayfish mod. I don't remember. The one thing about... Oh, here's the Crayfish. The one thing about the Paladin mod that I really like, and the reason why it's even here, is because... I don't like the way they look, because these are all, like, stripped. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick to the Paladin one. But the reason why I like the... Paladin mod in the first place is if I remember correctly, the Paladin mod allows me to use the modded wood as well as traditional, like here, like the mahogany, we got the dead strip chair, we got the magic chair, palm, all that, which are biomes that we will inevitably find in this world. Like in theory, like palm trees could grow right there and stuff like that. Like, I happen to choose the most vanilla spawn I could have. Like, but regardless, in theory, I could get all these trees. However, I think this might be a seeded world. Like, I specifically chose a seed. Oh no, I'm not. Okay, there it is. Like, I think I specifically chose this seed because of this, like, river area. I might have. I don't know. Hold on. How far am I from spawn? Wrong F button. Things might get a little noisy. I have a little fan that goes underneath my computer that I really love. And it basically just cools it off, but I just realized that my computer's a little on the hot side. Where am I? I'm not too far off from spawn, so this might be a seeded. Like, I purposely chose the seed. Regardless. Also, I was thinking about upgrading my skin, because the more I look at it, the more the, like, green-blue eyes like this are kind of, like, bugging me. They don't look good anymore. Like, the more I look at them, the more creepy they get. So I might actually have it uploaded. So this is for one of the other things I'm working on. So that's the original. This is a character that I've been working on. Obviously, we have Hollis, which I think is a character I've talked about a few times. He is based off a skin I found online. Specifically, Percy Jackson, I originally wrote his character with the idea in mind that he's going to be Greek because of some other things that are character traits within this world, not within the RA world that he's written for. I've mentioned the RA world. It's going to be Rain Academy. It's going to take place in a high school setting, and it's going to be very similar to what I've already talked about. Like, this is heavily inspired by one creator in terms of the way I'm laying this out, and like the builds and the settings and everything are inspired by one creator, whereas everything else has in and of itself its own archetypes, its own inspirations. Like, he is specifically, his skin is like a mixture of this Percy Jackson skin I found, which is mostly where his skin color comes from, and then his hairstyle is actually under the same umbrella. The male lead from the show I was talking about, the inspiration, it's very similar with the like front puff for the bangs, but his eye color, I chose blue specifically to help differentiate him, as well as blue being a common enough eye color that I can use it in some other things without making it super obvious. But as of right now, he's not written to be much more than just a friend role, which is where I started with all these characters. It's like how they're going to relate to the lead. I figured this would also be a really cool time to show off the current form for Rosiel for both of these series, because she looks a little different than my base skin, and this is her. She is heterochromic, which is based off, her entire design is originally a skin of my own. Like, I owned the actual skin. I changed her hair color to make it brunette, to make it a little more like myself, but she's heterochromic, which was a character detail I always really loved and thought would really like mesh well, where and in real life, I have what is called centroheterochromia. The inside of my eye color is green, whereas the outside of my iris is blue, and that's what inspired the original design right here. Oh, I didn't realize that my mouse doesn't show up on OBS, but anyways. So the eye color, the way it's designed, is because it's the green and the blue, which is more or less based off my Rilla. But this is for the sister series to what I've been working on here. And this will be also her face and her hair, at least to start off of, for this series as well, which does have a name. It's going to be Child, Rain, and Thunder. Again, that crossover with the, like, two series having very similar like setting, some of the settings overlap, some of the most of the characters overlap. I've been kind of working on it as going into this kind of knowing that these characters are kind of like related and all that. Like, everything is pretty related, which is in and of itself, again, inspiration from that one thing I've been talking about. But I decided that the storylines in and of themselves are going to be very different. I have a couple of like character models that I was going to use that I think I'm not using anymore. There are some archetypes that I originally came up with that I'm like, it doesn't quite fit the way this character started going when I started plotting stuff out. So I have actually come up with a method to do everything, and I know this is really like diverging away from what the original point. I'm going to stick with this skin for the rest of the episode, but I'm going to move over to like, I have a lot of stuff in my like work area and desk area. So I'm going to continue kind of working on the set while I explain like the idea behind behind like what I'm thinking. And I think basically that comes down to I had an idea for this. Like, there was an original idea going into all of this, and I still really like that idea, but I realized I'm writing this show for the audience that I wanted to reach, whereas the audience that I need is the audience who feels similar about the series to what I felt for the inspiration series, which is I needed an audience who was like me. And there's nothing wrong with feeding into a specific audience. Like, obviously, there is not. However, when I originally started writing or came up with this idea, I wanted it to be very obvious how inspired it was, because it was my tribute. It was my way of giving my love back to a community that not quite raised me, but made me who I am today. And that is super important still to me. And I feel like just the fact that I'm using this medium and storytelling through Minecraft kind of is its own nod and its own inspiration to exactly what I was wanting the inspiration to be in the first place. So I think that in and of itself is plenty. And again, there's all these videos which are never going to come down. I'm not going to take down the episodes, this show, when I become big, because if it doesn't represent who I am anymore. I do have an Instagram, so when it comes down to like actually getting these shows out, I think that I will probably, obviously there's nothing on that Instagram, and it shares the same handle as my YouTube. It is, if you look closely, you can find my handle is Rosiel, which is more or less based off an old nickname of mine. I might have talked about this before, but Rosiel, Rose, and a lot of other things are highly inspired by my own life, which also includes the fact that I had a childhood nickname, which is the inspiration behind the screen name Rosie Rose. If you go look at all my handles, Rosiel is a mixture of the name Castiel from Supernatural and Rose, obviously, which again was a name of mine. It's not my first name, but it's a name, which is probably the most I've ever I started playing the everything, and then I realized, like, ooh, maybe I would like to play this for my channel. And then I freaked out because of something said was a little too close to home, and then I got really confused for a while, and then realized it's in every game, so I think I shouldn't play it. Like, no one, like, the episode with the most views is episode 6 right now for the set building series. And, that has 11 views, and I think it's just because people accidentally wandered over here, and the YouTube algorithm is trying to find my niche, where I belong. And the problem is that I'm not gonna belong here forever. This is a temporary place. I am inevitably going to change who I am and where I belong in this community, and that's fine. That's how life works. I'm not always going to be Rosiel, the person who is building these builds that are meant to look a certain way. I'm inevitably going to end up following my dreams and becoming Rosiel, the storyteller, which has been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. There's obviously the inspiration behind all of it, and why I'm them anyways is the same thing I've always talked about. Like, I have a very obvious inspiration in my life, and I am not gonna let that go just because of anything, really. It is important to me. And if it's important to me, it should also be important to my audience. So we're almost done with this. I need to go in and I'm going to add some lights. I think this is a really good place for me to use the fairy lights. And I think I'm just gonna do regular white fairy lights with a black screen. That way it's not too like messy or anything. Much as I would want to use like some of these other looks, I think the fairy lights on the front is gonna fit the vibe of this character. I've already named the character as well. The owner of the inn is going to be named Beth Ann. Hold on. This isn't working the way I thought it would. Let's see what I can do about that. I know these mods have like recently updated. It might just be that's too far. What if I instead did this? Nope, that's not working either. What am I doing wrong? It's cute. Like, I love the way the white light looks. I might have to do like that. Yeah, I might just have to do the ceiling lights for right now. Ooh, that's off center. That is... No, it's not. I'm just blind. And then I will do one here, and then one right here by the window. Just to fill it out for right now, because if I try to do anything else, it's going to make this video run super long, and then it's going to end up super frustrating. And then everything kind of just, you know, exists. I think I'm going to take out this center tube. Oops. Because this doesn't feel right anymore. That just felt weird. Like, it makes it feel obvious that this room was kind of an afterthought when... I apologize for that yawn. But an afterthought in the design. And then this space works. Let's add the light in here. That way, just to light up the space. And after I get all these lights done, I will go ahead and return to what I was talking about. That's fine enough. Okay. Okay, I'm done with the beds. I'm done with that. So, as I was saying, there are multiple different ideas, more or less, of what I'm thinking of when writing this, but there's something I do know, and it's that I want to write this to be an adult series. Like, well, not quite adult series, but it's definitely not made for kids. It's not made with kids in mind. So I was working on writing it, and I'm gonna... This is perfectly... Nah, I think I'm gonna add desk instead. Alright. Anyways, when I started, because I've only started writing the first episode script, and then I got sidetracked working on other things. I wrote it for Rain Academy. But when I started writing the script, I realized this is definitely not a children's program. This is not going to be a good idea for kids to be watching this. I know what I want my audience to be, and it's definitely not going to be this. Let's move these pink nightstands, because I think what would be better is this, and then a dining table. Alright. Let's move away from... Actually, I think Paladin will look good with the stripped oak look for this. I don't like how that's rotated, though. Hold on. Okay, that's better. That's better. Okay. I need chairs. Alright, I'm going to use the... Let's do the white chair for the desk, and then I will change my mod for... Oh wait, here. Chair for the desk, and then I will choose a different... I think this... Or maybe the cherry wood chair. To add a bit more color again. Alright, for the little dining space, this is where we eat, and then this is the desk. And then we have the office chair. The office chair. Perfect. That feels cluttered. What can I do? I keep getting sidetracked. What if I switch it around and put which would force the chair to be this side or a little bit closer to the bed, but basically it kind of that works. Okay. Back to the point at hand. Again, this is not, none of this is ever being written with children in mind. Children are not my audience. I do not want children to be my audience, because if children are my audience, that means I fall under more specific guidelines that I have to follow, and I don't want to follow those guidelines of how to make my projects child friendly. I don't want to be child friendly. I'm okay with being family friendly, especially for this series, but I don't want to be child friendly. It is like this series specifically I've talked about before. Like, I wrote this series. Actually, I didn't write this series. I just keep most of my episodes pretty clean. And that is on purpose. And that's because I don't mind having a child audience. I'm just building. There's nothing special about what's going on here. I'm building a set for a series that children should not be watching, but I mean, I watched some pretty questionable things growing up, so I'm not going to tell people that their children can or cannot watch my content. I'm just going to say that all my episodes of all the series are going to start with the same baseline warning that's very similar to the Hell of a Boss warning. Actually, I have it written down somewhere, the warning that I'm going to put in front of both series. I forgot windows. Give me a second. I forgot there was a window here. I do have like a baseline warning, and I wrote it down. That's going to go in front of all the series, and it is intended to make it very clear that this is not made for children. Children are not in mind when I write this stuff. I need to give me one moment. I'm going to keep talking, but the game is going to be paused while I switch over to a Chrome tab, and I have OBS set up in a way that like you can't see my Chrome tabs. The only thing you see is my game, which is perfect because it allows me to pull up what I'm talking about without like without it getting in the way. So it says this and this is how every episode will open. So let me drop to the ground. I'm gonna clear out my inventory. F1, F5. This series is considered for audiences 16 and older. Some episodes may include the following: coarse language, violence, implied sexual encounters, violent or sexual dialogue, mental health struggles, and other contents that may not be suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Viewers' discretion is advised. And that's it. That's because that's kind of my point. This show is written for who I wished it was written for. Like, it is written for me. F1. There we go. And I think like I'm gonna do little quirky things with it. Maybe I'll make it a little more fun. But that that content warning specifically is inspired by the opening in front of Hell of a Boss on YouTube. But like, again, obviously it's a little different because this show is not that. The show is not, I'm finally going to name drop what everyone has known this entire time. This show is not My Street. This show is not Hell of a Boss. This show is not Minecraft Diaries. This is Rain and Thunder and Rain Academy. There is nothing wrong with, okay, there's probably some stuff wrong. obviously, because no show is without its fault. There's no such thing as a truly perfect show. And that's just because in writing a show for any medium comes with some downfalls. Like, for example, my street got really dark towards the very end. And it was not originally intended for that. And on top of that, everything is written kind of out of order. The first season of My Street came... Whoops. The first season of My Street came before the first season of the high school series that takes place in the exact same universe, so some stuff got missing. In the case of Hello Boss, as much as I adore the show, like, Hello Boss is my bread and butter. It was definitely, I don't think it was purposely written with its end goal in mind. And that's fine. You do not have to write a story with your purpose being clear on display from start to end, because honestly, that's not a lot of fun. It's not a lot of fun to think every little detail out. The difference between my show and theirs is the fact that there's no way I can physically write it without having those details planned out. And that does not make me better, and it does not make them lesser. It makes them different. So, I'm not saying Rain Academy or Rain and Thunder are going to be perfect. Because they're not. Because they're being written by a young woman who actively loves certain media and will not take criticism of that media well. I know there's criticism to be had, obviously. That was the whole reason why I'm like, there's obviously some stuff wrong. There is criticism to be had with both of those media-based influences. It is that I love these so much, and they are so important to me that I don't really care about the criticisms that I know exist. Like, I know these exist. They're real criticisms. There's valid criticisms for their individual media. But I'm one of those people who do believe genuinely that you can, at least in some cases, break the artist away from the art. The art is public property now, for lack of better words. Obviously, it's not copyright and everything. That's why I don't play music as much as I want to out loud while I'm making these videos. But what you get out of art is what is public. What is the public? Once you put art out there, it is up for interpretation. It is up to be reimagined. It is up to fall under anything that is not protected by copyright, which includes but is not limited to use for educational purposes, parody, or commentary. Now, there's the border between commentary and plagiarism, but that's a whole other topic that's not super important to what I'm talking about. But to be very clear, what I'm doing doesn't really fall under either one of those categories. They fall under inspiration, but I'm not using them. They're not in reference. Like, the only thing that's the same between what I'm creating in, say, My Street / Minecraft Diaries is the rough idea about two connected worlds that are very different, one set in medieval and one set in the future, or in what we would consider the present. But that's the only thing about that that's the same. Plus, some character archetypes are inspired, but they're archetypes for a reason. She didn't invent most of them, except for one that I've only ever seen happen one other time, and that was a real life. It's something I want to actually talk about now that I've, like, addressed the whole, like, exactly where my inspirations are coming from. The Three Brothers, Two Popular, One Not thing, I've seen it twice. And it's weird that it has happened twice. And one of them is the Romeos from that said series, which, again, I try to avoid, like, obviously making it clear that these are related because I want to be my own distinguished thing, but I've seen it twice now. And one of them is in real life. And that is, if you've ever watched any kind of, like, home improvement channels, you probably know about the Property Brothers. Now, it is twins who are the Property Brothers themselves, Drew and Jonathan, and then they have a brother, JD, if I remember correctly. I think his name is JD. Anyways, and then we got the Atmal example of Gareth, Zane, and then Vlad, who's like as much as he is popular, like, don't get me wrong, the fandom loves him, and there's nothing wrong with that. I get it. He is like that middle ground mix. Or, like, in a very similar vein, Disney did the same thing. It's similar, it's not quite the same, but Hel, Loki, and Thor, where it's two siblings that are very popular, and then they're one sibling that isn't. And I just think that whole, like, the existence of that trope is kind of funny. And that's just because the fact that it exists means that it's real. It's like it is a trope. I just don't think it has a name. Beyond the point, back to the actual media. So, as I've already talked about, I clearly have my inspiration. And when I'm talking about, like, having inspiration from the Hell of Boston Has Been Hotel, that specifically I'm writing something that's obviously more adult. Because this is written by me. I am an adult, and some of these are addressing my own struggles and my own fears and my own relationships, because that is part of me, and it becomes a medium of expression, and it is alright. That is just how the world works. I am currently gonna end up making this my longest video ever, mostly because I decided to diverge off of my, like, original point, and I kind of don't have a choice about that anymore. I've already started on the roof, so I'm gonna finish building the base of the roof. If I decide to change a little bit of how it looks, that'll be done off camera, when I have some free time. Because another thing to talk or point out is I have a day job, and that day job is the reason why I have the finances or the personal income, so that way I can do this. Because you almost, when you're starting out doing this, you almost have to have a day job, unless you're starting out super young, in which your parents are supporting you, and even then you still do have a day job. That day job is school. And I think it's also important to point that out, is, like, yeah, I'm working on 2 separate schedules, and this might end up being a thing where I can only post maybe twice a week, and then I have to alternate between posting Rain Academy and Rain and Thunder. Or maybe it's not. Or maybe it's something where I can only post 1 episode a week. So I post an episode of Rain and Thunder, then I post an episode of Rain Academy. And what I might do, just for the thematic joy of it all, is I'll post Rain and Thunder episodes on Thursdays, or on PST Thursdays. As I said, I have an Instagram by the same handle, and I think I am going to end up posting today. I'll post some screen grabs of the current progress on the Rain Academy build. It's not a lot, but I did finish the ground floor, which is still better than what I thought I could do at this point in my time. So the fact that I even got that far, plus I have some script stuff written, and I might start leaking stuff slowly over there, for both series, but I think I'm going to start out by linking for Rain Academy first, just because I record just about everything I build for this, for Rain and Thunder, because I'm recording all of this, and all of this is going to go all in one place, and I think I know what I'm going to do for some of this, and it's just, it's important. It's important to me to work and do my best to build an audience. So, if you're coming back here 5 years in the future and you're watching this video and you decide to support me by watching my old content, I appreciate it. I'm trying my best to balance between everything here and everything else, because as everyone knows, I am human. I have a personal life, and I am trying my best to make sure that those worlds work in tandem to each other, not against each other, because it would not be fun if they were working against each other. That would be some of the most frustrating things. And if you're here today, well, I appreciate you showing up so early. I appreciate you making the time to come in and watch me, a currently small creator. And who knows, I might get big, I might not. I might stay this little channel of no subscribers, no niche, and no anything for forever, and never make it to the point of actually releasing these shows. But I think I'm going to try to generate some hype. Instagram is a lot more fluctuating of a platform than YouTube is in terms of what's popular and how specific the niches get if you haven't like cultivated your algorithm like I have. Like, no, to be fair, I tried really hard to cultivate my Instagram algorithm to be exactly what I want it to be, and I think the work I put into that is overkill, to be very polite. But it's worth it. At least to me, it's worth it. I keep rambling, and I'm like trying to get this done quickly so that way I can end this video, because we are almost at 40 minutes, but I'm almost done with the room. So, I am going to add on my Instagram handle onto my YouTube officially. I need to set up, so I recently had to update my phone because my last one stopped charging. So I need to recently update my phone. It's not really an upgrade. The two phones came out about the same time. It's an A24 versus an S21, which I think is maybe a year apart. I don't need the newest and nicest things. I just need a phone. I might change this. I don't like the way the oak looks. I might change it out for cherry. Regardless, point stands. I am going to do a lot. I am trying my best, and that's all I can really hope for myself. But I'll work on the Instagram thing. I'll work on the YouTube thing. I'll keep on trying to deliver everything in a consistent-ish manner. Like, I am already late. I am already late to what I'm supposed to be doing, because I was supposed to upload this video about an hour ago as of time of recording, and an hour ago as of time of recording was 11 a.m., which is what I usually have mine scheduled to. However, I procrastinated working on this video, so while this is all processing and I get everything changed over to upload for today, I'm going to work on setting up the Instagram, making everything clear, and like pulling everything over. I am going to update the skin with the new eye texture I want to use, which I showed off with these two. I'm going to delete this. This is what Hollis's first ever design was for, and he's the reason why I realized this like teardrop pupil look wasn't going to work for me. It looks creepier and creepier the longer I stare. But in case you were wondering, like, because I did show this by accident, this was the original skin for Hollis's first appearance in Rain and Thunder, and then I decided it looks kind of bad. It looks really flat. Like, I don't like it anymore, so I'm gonna change that. But anyways, while I'm getting everything processed through, I will work on everything else. And I appreciate you guys for being along on the journey. And it really, really is a journey. And anyways, my name was Rosiel, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.